Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Every Day is Friday Podcast 365. I'm your host, Matthew, and remember to subscribe so you can join me on this journey where every day is Friday. Today, I got a really special guest joining us, Yahlil. He is an entrepreneur, author, holistic teacher, and a mindset coach. He teaches people how to turn energy into purpose. Let's jump right in. Thank you for being here, man.
Peace, power, and prosperity, Matthew. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, how
Thank you
you
for having me.
doing? And how's life been treating you lately?
Um, I am fantastic, and life has been treating me accordingly. I've actually been getting the energy that I expect. I'm not surprised by any of the good things that are happening to me now or that will happen to me. It's actually part of what I teach.
Now, what you do, I think, is so cool. For the listeners who may not be familiar with your line of work yet, can you give us a rundown of what you do?
Okay, so to sum it all up, um, I holistically teach us how to transmute energy, okay, into positive endeavors and outcomes, right? I do this through the vehicles of meditation that involves mindset training, which means we are resetting our minds, resetting our emotions or our spirits, and also even resetting our body. We take this reset and turn it into the ideal outcome that we ask for. Okay. And all of this is what we call transmutation. Transmutation is changing one energy from one form to another. Okay. So that's what I do in a nutshell. I've been doing this for over 2 decades, and I'm going to be doing this for the duration. Okay. I utilize different vices to help assist this, such as the copper. Okay. I wear a lot of copper. I drink a lot of copper, copper infused drinks, copper infused water. Okay. I teach on copper, and I also teach holistic living. Okay. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
No, I love that. And some people need a clear picture of things like this. It's not talked about much. I mean, how do you explain mental wealth?
Wow. Okay. So mental wealth is not a phrase that I created, but it's definitely a philosophy that I coined, okay, and began to dive deep in. Why? Because we live in a world that is suppressed. We live in a world that is almost fatigued with mental health issues and people that are going through all different mental health endeavors. Okay. I seen that there was a world that catered more to mental health and not to the mental wealth or well-being um, of this experience, right? And mental wealth just means it describes a mental and emotional bank. Okay. It is actually the cure for mental health issues. Okay. And also some emotional health issues and some physical health issues. I sum up mental wealth in a good phrase I like to say um, rich minds create rich minds create rich spirits that create rich bodies, and these rich bodies create the rich lives that our imaginations have asked for. Okay. And vice versa. Um, Poor lives are the result of poor bodies, and these are the result of poor spirits, and this is the result of a poor mind. So it's all coming back to the mind. Okay. So mental wealth acts as a fortification for the mind, that we may fortify the mind for days to come. Okay. And seasons to come that may challenge our emotions, that may challenge our mindsets, because we will approach different times in life that we are challenged to change. That's always the biggest challenge, change. Okay. And nevertheless, mental wealth gives us that fortification. This fortification um, may look like different affirmations that are embedded into your subconscious that are reminding you, right, that change is good, for example, reminding you that you're supposed to not know the next step all the time. right? When you're changing, when you're transitioning from one level to the next, okay, and this is a level that you've never been on, it's okay to not know. It's okay to feel some levels of insecurities, okay, but still have that bravery, still have that confidence and that courage to still be able to move through the darkness, okay? As you move through this darkness, what you are telling yourself, what you are feeding yourself, okay, your mind and your emotions is coming from your mental wealth bank, okay? So that's mental wealth in a nutshell, and I recommend it for all leaders, creators, entrepreneurs, and responsible people who are here to complete a task, who are here walking on purpose, okay? Because the world much more rather us, okay, be the people we were born to be rather than being afraid, okay, to change or to what I call the necessary energy, okay? So yes, that's mental wealth. Hopefully, that was clear enough.
No, I get that. I get that a lot. Because the only thing constant in this world is change, and awareness also often comes from experiences.
Yes, yes. Um, Awareness grants us experiences, grants us awareness, right? And mental wealth in many different ways, shapes, or forms, right? And these ways, shapes, or forms include mindfulness activities and exercises, meditations. Okay, these are all different ways that we reset the mind and reset the spirit and emotion. Okay, and to serving us better than taking away from us. And serving us is going to be increasing our awareness. Okay. If we don't know, we don't know. And if we don't know, we won't change something. Okay. But when we become aware of a certain thing, it is hard for us to forget. And we utilize this to our advantage to transmute one thing into another.
That's so interesting. Can you tell me a little bit more?
Yes. Um, this philosophy began, right? Over a decade and a half ago, although I've been teaching it for 2 decades. This really began to concrete itself over a decade and a half ago when I began to look at myself, right? And the people I was assisting. Now, back then, I was what some people would call a healer, right? I was always a teacher, but I was also healing. As I said, rich minds create rich spirits that create rich bodies. I was there enriching these bodies. I was there enriching these spirits who I may have seen that have been succumbed with an impoverished body, an impoverished life, or an impoverished spirit. I was there assisting these spirits. And I began one day in meditation to look at the world, okay, in contrast to myself. And as I looked at myself, I seen that I don't have many of the problems that people have. Okay, the people I were assisting, I don't have those same problems. Okay, but there were things that I have been through. Okay, there are a lot of things that I've been through. Okay, that challenged me to become the necessary energy or the person that I get to look at in the mirror every day. There were things that I got to go through, right? That I was almost sure that there were other people going through the same thing. These people are termed the leaders. These people are termed the creators. These people are termed the entrepreneurs and the responsible people. Those responsible people may not even know that they are leaders, they are creators, they are entrepreneurs because I respect us on every level. Okay. So I began to see that it was more that I was catering to my shadow more than I was catering to my reflection. I'm going to say it again. I was assisting my shadow more than I was assisting my reflection. Okay. My reflection is those leaders. My reflection is those entrepreneurs, those creators, and those responsible people because that's who I am. Okay. I'm the first man in over 200 years within my bloodline. I am the eldest of 11. Okay. This was a way I was born. I was born teaching all my other 10 siblings. Okay. And also resetting mine. So I was a man that walked in purpose and been walking in purpose since I was about 5 to 6 years young. Okay. And I knew that I don't have the ego to believe that I am the only one. Okay, I think that's a very egotistic thing to think that you're the only one, good or bad, to experience something. Okay, when I began to realize and look at myself, okay, and in contrast to the people I'm assisting, I knew that I was not the only one. There are other leaders, there are other creatives, there are other responsible people, okay, and entrepreneurs who have gone through similar things that I've went through or going to go through similar things that I've went through. And at that moment, I began to go into gratitude and appreciate the fact that, yes, everything in life does happen for a reason. But it was time for me to determine that reason. And I was determined, okay, to not allow people that are my reflection, okay, to suffer the same fates as other people have or go through the same trials and tribulations that I have the same way. I was determined to make it easier. And if I could, okay, help you avoid going through certain things, I would, okay? Because I knew that our walk was different. Our path is different, okay? For example, being the eldest of 11, let's just imagine a line leader, okay? Anybody ever been a line leader, then you would understand that the line leader is the first person in line. It's not too many people in front of them. It's not too many people beside them, okay? So they have to go through a challenging moment where they are challenged, okay? When they are alone, they may be challenged, okay? Challenged to maintain that solidarity and not allow it to become loneliness, okay? To maintain that solidarity and not allow it to become loneliness. I knew that there were other leaders, okay, who may have already had suffered the fate of loneliness, who may be questioning themselves, okay, and going through different doubts and doubting moments in life where they question who they are and the things that they're doing and if it's worth it or not because they aren't receiving the same reward as the rest of the fold, okay, as the rest of the line. I knew that my reflection needed to be taught what to do in these moments, like turning a lone hood, that's what I call it, turning a lone hood into solidarity. That's the perfect time you learn yourself. That's the perfect time you learn the world. That's the perfect time you increase yourself and increase your value. You don't do this when you have many people around. You do this when you're alone. Okay, you increase your physique. Okay, you change your diet, you change your mindset, you challenge yourself, you practice certain things. Okay, and then you present that new being to the world. Okay, I knew that there were other leaders who are going through that. Okay, and needed to hear. Okay, from their own reflections, that they're going through something normal, and also to learn different ways to make it better. Okay, so mental wealth, okay, began to foundate itself within as a philosophy within myself, okay, and also as I began to teach it, I also began to learn it because I've always understood the teacher is only the A student, okay, and that we are always teaching and learning, right? So as I began to teach, I also began to learn, okay, and I began to see reflection even clearer and began to come to one point of view, and I began to see that yes, we all indeed going through the same thing. It is, for the lack of better terms, it's a lie that we've convinced ourselves, or maybe even the world. Okay, but I don't like to give blame or power to anything on the outside of me. Maybe we've convinced ourselves that we're so unique that we're going through a different living experience than everyone else. But that can't be so much farther from the truth. We're actually going through the same living experiences. Okay. This is why certain governing parties want to separate people, because if you knew that you're going through the same thing as another, then the help is already there. Then we can't sell you the help. Okay. So, yes, mental wealth began to foundate itself and become a concrete philosophy as I begin to also look at those reflections and say, well, what can I offer these people? The most I can offer these people who are on this particular adventure, because they're not on a journey, these people are on an adventure, okay, is fortification. Because you're not turning around, you're not going back. You're going to continue until you become the energy that you need to become, okay, to achieve everything that it is that you've seen in your imagination. Okay, there is no turning back. The leaders understand this. There is no turning back. The mind cannot forget the things that it learned. There is no exit to the mind. Okay. So once you learn different things about the world and about yourself, okay, you must continue. And I knew that those people, my reflection, they understood that. So the most I can offer them, okay, as far as value is concerned, the most value I can bring into that particular community and into the marketplace was to offer them fortification, legitimate fortification, and in real time, things we can use in real time. Okay. So that's mental wealth, right? At least the beginnings of it.
Only the beginning. Can you peel this
Only the
back one
beginning.
more layer for me? I mean, why do you think so many people chase success, but they still feel empty inside?
That's a beautiful question. Why do so many people chase success and still feel empty? Because there's a different type of success when you don't know your purpose. Okay? Better yet, there's a different type of success when you have not accepted your purpose. For example, I can be working at a job for however long. I can be working, that's just remove the job. I can be working on a particular task for a certain amount of time, okay, and be successful in my endeavors, okay, as it pertains to this task. Okay, let's just say I wanted to build a house, okay, and I'm successful in building a house. That doesn't mean that I'm a builder. That doesn't mean I was supposed to build houses, okay? But some of us will allow success that may seem, or some of us will allow accomplishments to become success. And true success is for you to give legs to who you already are, right? I think one of the biggest um one of the biggest uh murderers, okay, of purpose was when they asked the youth, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up is one of the worst things you can ask a person, especially when they have an adolescent mind, because first, you are forcing me to entertain that I can be something other than I already am. The correct question should have been, how can you be more of what you already are as we approach who you are? Okay. And so some of us have grown up with this idea of us being something totally different than who we are. Okay. And we don't begin to realize this until you're a few decades into being this fictional character. This fictional character who have to put on a suit every day and go into the office every day, okay, and pretend to like something more than you actually do, to pretend to be more invested than you actually are. Just because you know a thing doesn't mean you like a thing. Just because you are fully educated on a thing doesn't mean you like a thing. A lot of us passed every class in school. It doesn't mean we liked every class in school either. Some of us much more preferred lunch or PE, right? Nevertheless, just because you're good at a thing doesn't mean that that was your purpose. So I think a lot of successful people aren't happy because they aren't walking in their purpose. In fact, I know this, okay? That most successful people aren't happy because they walking in their purpose. Success doesn't grant happiness. Success doesn't grant happiness, especially if you're not the one determining your success. Whose success is this? Who's determining success? Is it a tax bracket? Is it a monetary goal? Okay. Monetary assets don't determine success. Anyone can make a certain type of money. Okay. Money will come and go and burn. Okay. And you can't take it with you. Money alone doesn't determine your success. So if that doesn't determine your success, are you judging it by the title you have? Titles don't determine your success. In fact, successful people won't have titles. They are just themselves. Purposeful people, okay, they won't have titles. They are just themselves. Okay? So if your title don't determine your success, okay, your accomplishments don't determine your success. or excuse me, if your titles don't determine your happiness, okay, if your accomplishments don't determine your happiness and your monetary assets don't determine your happiness, then what is the determining factor of your happiness? The determining factor of your happiness was how far along in your purpose have you gone. If you walking and waking and going down in your purpose, how are you living within your purpose? That's the true adventures of life, is walking in purpose. You see, because I can work 40 years over at one place until it's almost time to retire, okay? And then I may realize right through a midlife crisis that I was never this type of person. For example, the little boy that liked to play with trucks, the little boy that likes to play with trains, okay, may grow up and be a doctor. You may grow up and be a doctor. And so at a certain point in time, you'll begin to think about those trains. You'll begin to think about those planes and begin to question, well, then who am I? Who am I? Was I a builder of these cars or trains? Was I a race car driver? Right? Was I truly a pilot? Was I supposed to fly and travel the world? Okay. But being a doctor may not be it. So this where we get midlife crisis from, when you begin to question, okay, and put into contrast, what am I doing? My successes, alleged successes and accomplishments versus my purpose. Okay. And the farther we get from purpose, the louder that voice in the back of our mind gets. Okay, why am I doing this? It's gonna unsatisfy us. I meet and deal with a lot of unsatisfied people, okay, who on the outside, they may look satisfied, they may look accomplished. Okay, accomplished don't lead us to happiness. Once again, accomplishment don't lead us to satisfactions. Okay, I'll give us a prime example. Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan went and got what, five rings and still went off to play for the Boston Barringtons for the baseball team. Okay, when he became number 45. Why? Because Michael Jordan played baseball before he played basketball. So look at all the accomplishments he's accomplished playing basketball. Still, that didn't give him the ultimate satisfaction it would have given him to play baseball. Okay, to play baseball, which he knew that regardless of how good he was, okay, that was his purpose because that's what he wanted to do. Okay, right next to purpose, we're going to find intent. Okay, like my purpose is to not only increase the awareness, okay, but awaken the power that is in you and teach you how to use it. Teaching you how to use it is going to be through the mechanisms of transmutation, how to change that power, okay, into your benefit. Okay, that's part of not only my purpose, but my intent. I intend to do this. As I mentioned, I'm the eldest of 11. I was looking at ones younger than me, but also my reflection, intending to teach them how to utilize that power that I've seen. Okay, I have 8 sisters. They all unique. They all different. None of them look alike. None of them act alike. Okay, so to me, I looked at us all as the Avengers. You all can do something different, something specific, as well as my brothers. We are all different. Okay, it's because they had a brother like me who intended for them to acknowledge their purpose, accept it, embrace it. Okay, that you may walk in it in all the days of your life. So, in short, most people, okay, who are successful may be going through times that they don't feel so good, may be going through times where they are unsatisfied. It is 100% due to purpose, okay, and them not walking in their purpose and their true nature.
I love that. That's such a good point. I mean, thoughts shape our actions.
Yes, yes, directly shape our actions. I teach the mind is the navigation to the spirit, which is the navigation to the body, our actions. So it's those thoughts, okay, that are shaping our feelings, that are shaping our emotions, okay, that are determining our actions. I give us an example on that point. A depressed person, a depressed person may not be one. They may not want to eat. A depressed person may not want to eat. They may not want to get up. They may not want to be bothered. They may not want to hear voices. They may not want to hear that you're going to be okay. You're going to get through this. They may not want to hear any of this. That's because they're carrying the spirit of depression, and surrounding that community of depression, we're going to have insecurities. We're going to have doubt. Okay. We may even have some anger, some frustration, some jealousy. All of this is coming from the mind and the thoughts that the mind is feeding the spirits. Okay. You may keep replaying the thing, the activity or the scene that has led to you even feeling depressed in the first place. Let's say you lost your job. You done lost your job. Now you're approaching this view as with an insecure mindset. Okay. Why did this happen to me? Okay, and I didn't deserve this. And what's wrong with me? Am I not enough? Am I stupid? Am I weak? Okay. You may be approaching all of these, and this is then creating the insecurities that are in you. Okay. You may begin to entertain as you begin to think about other jobs. I'm not going to get that. This is going to take this long. I'm going to have to put in this amount of applications. I'm going to have to become something different. I'm going to have to study this. I'm going to have to do all these things. Okay. Now, and if I'm already insecure, feeding my insecurity, right? Because you telling yourself, I'm going to have to. This isn't even a secure beginning to the statement, right? You begin feeding your emotions. Your emotions is getting founded in concrete. And why would my body move from that energy? If I tell my body I'm going to have to do all these things, that sounds like work. That sounds like hard work. Why would I begin moving? Why would I begin changing? So yes, the mind directly navigates the spirit, which directly determines your decisions and the actions that you create afterwards.
Let me bounce off of that real quick. I mean, one door will close, another one will open. That's just an analogy I use on life, on certain things. But I mean, the way words are used, they're spells. It's called spelling for a reason. So be careful how you use them. I mean, where does the doubt usually come from?
Well, not always a simple it's not always a simple answer as far as if you're asking the person, right? Because doubt is coming from three different places. Okay. Doubt is coming from our experiences, what actually happened. Doubt is also coming from our memories. Okay. And they could be fictional memories. Yes, there's a thing called fictional memories. You can remember things that you didn't even experience. For example, you could have read books about this and happened to people, watch movies, okay, and seen that certain things happen to people, okay. So these are creating fictional memories, and then your memories, okay, overloading you with information. You may have had some moments in life that didn't work out in your favor, and you're counting, you're doing the math. Okay, when I've tried several times, it didn't work out, not knowing it was going to be the eighth time, not knowing it may have even been a ninth time. Okay, so you're doing the math, okay, and forcing you to lean further into a doubting mind. Okay, so our fictional memories, our experiences, and then you're doing something else. You're also going into the future. The future is then creating insecurities. Okay? This is creating insecurities. And when you're doing all three of these things, right? This is one of the ways I assist people with awareness and allowing awareness to be a vehicle back to the present. Because when you're doing all those three things, notice where I just went. The memories, the fictional memories, okay? The experiences that I'm experiencing now, that's not happening in real time, but they did happen in real time. And also the future. I call this the time traveler. contrary to Einstein's theory of relativity, okay, I understand time travel as a mechanism of the mind, okay, something that we all can do, okay. Um, the greatest marketing companies have demonstrated this time and time again, okay, to be able to take someone into different places in their mind that is outside of the present. Because when you're not in the present, anyone can do anything to you and anything will happen to you. Okay. So the doubting mind, to sum this up, the doubting mind is the result of the time traveler. Okay. Because as you mentioned, when one door closes, another one opens. This is something you to have to realize when you're planning flat footed into the present, flat footed into the present, not thinking about the last event, not thinking about the future event, but you're planning flat footed into the present. Okay. That doubting mind, okay, is the result of the time traveler. You aren't here. Okay. And when you aren't here, you won't receive the gifts of the present, okay, which is a whole mind, which is to feel fulfilled. The present is full of everything that you could possibly need within the moment, no matter how it may look, okay, no matter how you may feel about what you have everything you need within this present. Okay, so the doubting mind is the result of the time traveler. I'm confident in that. The person who's doubting is not here. So my job when I am assisting the doubt, okay, as an energy, I bring them right back here and teach them how to stay here. Okay. And through the vehicles of mental wealth, I'm going to give them things that they cannot forget, teach them activities and exercises that they cannot forget. Okay. Not will not, cannot forget, that keeps them tied into the present.
Wow, that's so interesting. I mean, I love the present because, it's the one gift that we're given, and, know thyself. That's something that's so powerful that a lot of people don't take with them every day, to know thyself, or who they are, and, kind of get rid of the dopamine hits they love online. It's going to take a lot of work to go towards your goals.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that was a good one. Know thyself. Know thyself. But again, we coming back to purpose. Knowing thyself. Um, accepting who you are. Accepting who you are, and who you are, you was born as. Okay. You didn't need to learn a lot of different things in life to be you. You just needed to practice being you. Life already giving you all of what you need. Look at the bird. The bird is born with wings and can already fly. It is born with wings and it already can fly, and it is born at a height. It is born up in the trees. So it doesn't need to learn that it's a bird. It just needs to practice being a bird. Yeah, knowing thyself is important.
You mentioned on one of your reels you posted the energy of certain days of the week. I mean, how does energy feel different on a Monday compared to Friday?
Wow. So energy on different days of the week. Well, Friday is a Venus. Monday is a moon day. Mondays is ruled by the moon. Fridays is ruled by Venus. Um, a Monday energy is going to have you thinking. It's going to take you into your emotional side of life. It's going to take some emotional intelligence. Okay. Because think about how Monday is aligned on the week. We have Sunday, which is the first day of the week. That light shined on any seed is going to give growth to anything. Okay. So you start in the week in the light, and then we have Moon Day. Okay. We're going to utilize these emotions, okay, to carry us through the rest of the week. Actually, this is where I created the different mechanisms and laws of transmutation. I've seen the universe already wanted us to transmute something. Okay. It took us from the light onto the emotions. Okay. and wanted us to use these emotions, right? Nevertheless, the moon is magnetic. This is why it's an emotional day. The moon is magnetic. Okay. You're going to get, um, you're going to get the same magnetisms that you feel during the full moon. You're going to get it just in a lesser degree on every Monday. This is why most people commit suicide on Mondays. This is why most people quit their jobs on these Mondays. Okay. This is because this is a challenging time, because just imagine this is you and you're being pulled. You're being pulled. Okay. And via this magnetism, what's being pulled is your emotions. You're being challenged. You're being challenged. Okay. Because what I like for people to know, your emotions aren't here to hurt you. I'm going to say it again. Your emotions aren't here to hurt you. They're actually here to help you. Okay. To help you advance into becoming. Okay. Becoming the person you're supposed to be. So your emotions aren't here to hurt you. There is something called emotional intelligence. Okay, and life requires you to have a decent amount of emotional intelligence. Actually, emotional intelligence is better than any other form of intelligence. Okay, because you're going to need emotional intelligence. Life is about the doers, not the thinkers. The doers went farther than the thinkers. That's a fact. So, nevertheless, Mondays is forcing you to do something. Forcing you to do something about your problem, do something about the things you don't like, do something about the things you do like, do something about your purpose, do something that satisfies you, do something about, do something that catapults change within your life. And then we have Friday. Friday is a loving energy. Venus is a loving planet. Okay. Passionate planet. Okay. It's mostly celebratorial. Okay. So it's time to celebrate. But why wouldn't it? We just went through all of these things. Right? Went through the whole week. Okay. The Sunday gave birth to things. I like to call Sundays restorative Sunday. Sundays give birth to things because of the light, because of the sun. We're going to restore. Okay. Monday is Moon Day, the emotional day. I call it Mindset Mondays. Okay. Where we assess the mind. Okay. Perfect time to reset the mind and reset the emotions. Okay. Then we have Tuesdays. Tuesdays ruled by Mars. Okay. Mars is a warring planet. Okay. Most fights, most arguments, most road rages, a lot of wars, even voting. If you go look this up, anyone listening, most of your voting, okay, is on Tuesdays, because Tuesday is the day to war. Why not war for something that you need to do for yourself, or that you want to have for yourself? I call it Transformation Tuesdays. Then we have Wednesdays all across the US, and I'm sure in other countries. We call it Wellness Wednesdays. I call it Wealth and Wellness Wednesdays. Okay, because Wednesdays is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is the house of communication. It's the perfect time to speak. Okay, speak within and speak without. Speak to you, okay, to yourself, okay, and also speak to your community of your supporters, of your family, your friends, those around you. Then we have Thursday. Thursdays is ruled. Thursdays is synonymous with Thor, and Thor is synonymous with the planet Jupiter. Okay. Jupiter is a family oriented planet. It's a big blue planet. So it's family oriented. For this reasons, most of your most of your family oriented holidays is going to be on a Thursday. They're going to force it on a Thursday. They've always been on a Thursday. Your Christmas was on a Thursday. Your Thanksgiving is on a Thursday. In fact, they're going to, if I'm not mistaken, your New Year's is going to be on a Thursday as well. Okay. Thursdays is family oriented. I'm going to say it again. Thursdays is family oriented. It's ruled by Jupiter, this big blue planet. Okay. Um, Christmas is on Thursday, Thanksgiving is on Thursdays, and New Year's is indeed going to be a Thursday. This is not by coincidence. It's because your governing party is aware, okay, of the planetary energies, and they've learned how to transmute it into their advantage. And this is what I've learned, to teach people how to transmute into energy into their advantage. Why wouldn't I? If I learned this, I could have kept it to myself, but why wouldn't I walk in my purpose and teach you how to do the same thing? Okay. And then we have Friday, that's Venus. We finna celebrate. So as we went through all of these things, family oriented, Thursday, miraculous or Mercury, or Wednesday, communication, communing. Okay. Tuesday, we warred for something. Okay. But instead of warring with people, we much more rather utilize Mercury, okay, as an element, as an energy. We rather utilize Mercury, okay, to transmute that warring energies to war with our own self and transformation Tuesday, and also Moon Day, okay, an emotional day forcing us to reset our mind, reset our spirit, and also reset our body, coming from a Sunday. Lastly, that leads us on to Saturday. Can't leave Saturday out. I know you asked about Monday and Friday. Saturday, Saturday is ruled by Saturn. Okay, another beautiful planet teaching us um to care for self. Saturday is a selfish planet, so we're going to utilize we're going to utilize selflessness and selfishness to our advantage. Okay, we're going to care for ourselves. Notice your energy on a Saturday. You much more rather care for yourself on a Saturday. You much more rather put the smile on your face on a Saturday. You care more about you and the way you feel, and less about the way other people feel. Okay, Saturn is that planet and is necessary before you walk into that restorative Sunday, back onto that Sunday. You'll need that new anointing. Okay. So yeah, hopefully that answer you that question in full.
I love that because every podcast, the show is called Every Day is Friday. And, I always tell them Fridays have a special energy, whether it's like freedom, excitement, or just feeling of accomplishment after a long week. And I always ask them, what does Friday mean to you?
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm gonna answer that. I know you ain't asked, but I'm gonna answer it. Friday to me means celebration. Friday to me, um, I celebrate this way. I call it Freedom Fridays. Okay. Like I said, every day has a specific theme. Okay. Self-care Saturdays, restorative Sunday, mindset Monday, transformation Tuesday, wealth and wellness Wednesday, thriving Thursday, and Freedom Fridays. And on Freedom Fridays, I like to fast. I fast for my body. I lower my body from my dopamine hits that I've been receiving and feeding myself during out the week. Okay. I allow my body to come to neutral. Okay. A zero state where I don't need much. Okay. And I spend the next 2 days feeding myself purpose, feeding myself the things that are there to actually satiate me and put a smile on me. Yes. So Fridays are one of my favorite days of the week. Yeah. Then I'll have to say Tuesday.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I just want to ask you, for the listener out there that just doesn't really understand what we're talking about sometimes, in this podcast. I mean, what are some simple ways to like raise energy naturally?
Wow, that's beautiful. Okay, simple ways to raise your energy. One thing is remove all the excess energy. Removing all the excess energy will help you raise your energy. Okay. I mean, the cell phones, I mean, the electricity. Okay. I mean, the Wi Fi. I mean, anything that is emitting, okay, radiation, remove it. Okay. Removing excess energy will help you recharge yourself. That's one. The second thing you can do is every day you should do something that satiates you, that satisfies you every day. Okay. The more you do this, the more you'll raise your energy. Okay. Um, the third thing, um, be your own dopamine hits. Yeah, be your own dopamine hits. The best way you can tap on your own dopamine button is walking in purpose. It's going to give you a certain type of a joy that nothing else can give you. Okay. It's a certain type of abundance that comes from into your purpose. Okay. I believe you do these three things, just those three things, and there's more. Okay. I have over 90 different things that I recommend to different people in different walks of life and in different stages in life. Okay. But I believe that these three things would it's easy for all of us to do and all of us to start at. Okay. Doing those three things, being your own dopamine hit. Okay. If we struggle with purpose, sitting and remembering, okay, the things that you've done before you was 10, the things that put a smile on you before you was 10. Start doing those things, more of those things. Okay. I'm gonna throw a last one on there. Um, Stepping into nature. Okay. I know a lot of people live in concrete jungles. Okay. There's a lot of concrete around and they're building. Okay. And they're consistently building, especially in these cities. But no matter where you live in the world, get away from the telephone lines. The farther you get away from the telephone lines, okay, the easier it will be to ground yourself within your own energy. You see, if you feel low energy, this is because things are pulling from your energy. You're not naturally a low energy. If you were naturally a low energy, you wouldn't even be here. You would be unalived. Okay. So you are already a high frequency. You start off that. Okay. I know certain walks of life, spiritual walks of life, such as religion, teaches you that you're born in sin, that you're born low. I want us to understand that sin is the result of to just you not knowing. Okay. And they are demonizing not knowing, but there's a bliss. You ever hear ignorant is bliss? Yes. There's a bliss that comes from not knowing. Okay. You are born in a high frequency. Look how high of a frequency the baby is in. And they don't know. Okay. So get into nature, get away from the telephone lines. Okay. You can set you some time out within your own clock. Okay. And you should schedule a time to go in nature, make it a date, go in nature. Okay. This is something I do every day. I give y'all some examples of the things I do every day. One thing that I do that satiates me is I run. I run a mile to 3 miles every day. I run. Yes, it's one of my favorite things to do. Yes, I like running. I run, right? And that's one of my favorite things, not only to do, but it's also one of my favorite meditations, right? So I'm just giving y'all an example. Another thing that I do as far as walking in purpose, I teach every day. There's not one day that I go that I allow to go by that I don't teach. I teach. And I mostly teach everyone that comes across my frequency. If you come into my presence, even if we make it on the phone, I'm going to teach you. It is a second nature to me, like breathing, as as well as all of our purposes. It is your second nature. Okay, no matter what you are. Okay. And the more you walk in that purpose, the more it's going to be easy for you to be you.
This reminds me of what I do to get more energy. I usually have a list of like three just things I gotta do throughout the day. They don't have to be massive, but just like make your bed for one. And as soon as I check that off, I get more energy. And then maybe even, do the laundry. That's another check. And then upload a podcast. That's another check. And then after I get all three checks, I feel more energy inside of me.
Yes. Yes, that's a beautiful thing. I've learned that I studied that science in college. Um, I noticed that where did I notice that? In the army. That's the reason that um people who've been in the army are trained to make their beds every day because there's something beautiful that happens. You don't just feel good, but you get a balance of hormones and a boost of testosterone. When your testosterone is elevated to natural heights, let's say your testosterone lift, it pulls the other hormones to balance. So yes, that's one of the mechanisms of transmuting your hormones, right? and balancing your hormones naturally. Something else I teach, balancing of the hormones naturally. I'm glad you brought that up. It's been a while since I spoke on it. But yes, that's a beautiful thing you can do. Um one of the symptoms, or excuse me, one of the benefits of a balanced testosterone is high vibrations. You're going to be satisfied. You're going to be happy. You're also going to want to do the next thing. Okay, you're going to want to create. You're going to have energy to do. You're going to have energy to have fun. Okay, that's all the mechanisms of testosterone. And no, testosterone is not a male hormone as you was taught. Okay, actually, no hormones is male or female. Some of us may have more of a production of certain hormones than the others, but that doesn't make it male or female. In fact, you were born with 23 chromosomes of each, right, from your mother and your father. Okay, so you are a good cocktail of hormones. So you need them all. Okay, you need all of them. So no matter if you're a female or a male, you need a good balance of testosterone. Right. Sometimes I notice that when I also notice, like I said, enriching minds, bodies, and spirits, sometimes when it comes down to the depressed person, right? I also know that their hormones are depleted, and one of them being testosterone.
Wow.
Right?
That's so
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yep.
You know, I have something written on my wall behind me. It says your mind has to be stronger than your feelings. I mean, how does mindfulness help people make better decisions?
I like that what you have on your walls. Your mind have to be stronger than your feelings. That's right. Um, to touch on that, um, well, first re-ask the question before I was appreciating what's on your wall.
Yeah, no, I think it was the manager of Kobe Bryant that said, "Your mind has to be stronger than your feelings." He told Kobe that, and then I put it on the back of my wall, and I see it every day now. How does mindfulness help people make better decisions?
Okay. So, as I mentioned, I run every day, and I don't just run. Um, at least 5 days out of the week, sometimes seven. I also work in. I don't work out. I work in. Why? Because I go to the gym to work out my mind. Today, before we began this podcast, I was coming from the gym, right? Um, actually, this is where I wore it to the gym. I haven't even changed my clothes. So yeah, I believe in working in, right? Because I also understand your mind has to be stronger than your body, right? And mindfulness activities and exercises help you strengthen the relationship between your mind and your body, right? Um, Mindfulness can contribute deeply to the decisions that you make and the way you feel. Why? Because what is going to happen is you're going to notice that you have a separate space within you. Okay, you can even call this space, what I like to call this space, is the ethos. You can go into the ethos and work, right? Because we live a busy life, and during life, right, you may not have all this time to go within yourself and do the work, right? But when you have mindfulness, exercises, activities, practices, right, you become second nature for you to go within and do the work, right? And by doing the work, you strengthen your mind. And your mind was supposed to be stronger than your body. It's supposed to be, right? Um, for example, you may have seen or heard stories about different women lifting up cars because their babies were underneath, or different men lifting up things that are 5 to 10 times their body weight, right? This is because they're not lifting it with their body, they're lifting it with their minds. Your mind doesn't know a limit. Okay, I'm gonna say that again. Your mind doesn't know a limit. Your body only knows the limit that the mind has given it. Okay. When I'm enriching bodies, and I'm doing my mental fitness programs, for examples, right? I usually tell people to pick a number. We're going to pick a workout and pick a number, right? Sometimes I pick the workout after working out with them a few times. And let's just say you're more leg strong. You may not know that you're leg strong, but I can see that you're leg strong. You have strong legs, right? And let's just say we're going to go in for squats. We're going to do squats, right? Um, and I got a roundabout idea about what the average person does as far as squats. I'm gonna say 1 in 200, and that's still not average, but 1 in 200, right? I'm gonna say we're gonna do squats. Pick your number. The person may say 1 in 200. Okay. I'm gonna say, okay, well, we'll do 500. I'm not only gonna double that number, but watch this. When we get to 5, I'm also gonna double that. We're gonna do 1,000. Because when we get to 5, first off, once we get to the number that they said, they're approaching the limits of their mind. Okay. Then once I increase the limits of their mind, it's still a limit because I'm giving you the limit. Right. But then after the 5, I won't share the fact that we're going to do another 500. We'll just do it. And I'm doing it with you. We'll just do it. And the whole exercise is to show you, right? Because I'm training you all the way through. I'm speaking directly to your mind, something I learned to do. I learned to speak to the emotions separate from the mind and separate from the body, and the body separate from those, and the emotions separate from all separate. But then I'm speaking directly to the mind, okay? And you're going to begin to see that you're limitless, right? And the limits that is on your body is something that is only placed on your mind. Okay. Um, Something else I noticed is that the mind is on a never ending quest to reveal itself to itself. So it doesn't know what it looks like, it doesn't know its true capabilities. Okay. It spends most of this adventure we call life making itself, um, bringing its own self into fruition. Okay, that's why we do the things that we like to do. We may play music, we may be artistes, we may be walking in purpose. Even walking in purpose is a manifestation, okay, of who mind is and who the way we see ourselves. Okay. Um, but yes, through the vehicles of mindfulness, okay, you begin to train the mind to be stronger than the body and the emotions, which belong to the body. Okay, because you're going to have to be stronger than your emotions. You know how many times in life you may get upset and want to walk away? Anybody that do hard things going to go through that little mental battle. Going to go through the little mental battle where you say, "Eh, I don't want to lift this again, but I'm going to." At that point, your mind is battling its own self, not your body, right? Not your emotions. It's battling its own self, crumbling its belief system. Okay. Um, Something else that I help people with at the beginning of me assisting them. One of them is crumbling your belief systems. Painful thing, but necessary thing.
I have to say that people struggle to slow down and listen to themselves. This reminds me of a story about the top athletes in the world. Whenever they're competing, they say it's effortless. They're in a flow state. They're there, they're doing the right move, the right play at the right time, effortless. And they're in a flow state
Yes.
when they're doing this.
Flowing, flowing. Just like now. I've been doing a lot of speaking and teaching at the same time without any thinking. This doesn't require thinking. In fact, in my studies, I've learned that human beings, it isn't our first nature to think. Okay. Thinking is not something that all humans can do. It's not even something we all can do. It's something you have to practice. It's a skill. Okay. Um, and you're often viewed as superhuman once you start to think. Yeah, you leave the realms of common man and common woman or mere mortals or the carnal world, and you begin to step into something different. Okay, I've learned that this isn't because you're some superhuman, but this is because it is not human's first nature to think. Our first nature is to do, our first nature is to move. Okay, although meditation is instinctful, right? It's something we can do in the inside, but this has to be taught to us, right? At the beginning of my teachings, over a decade ago, I began to realize, because I used to teach as if you already know what I'm telling you and I'm just reminding you, which is still true, right? But that bled into other subjects such as meditation, right? I know that we have the tools to meditate, but I must teach you to use these tools, or else it isn't just going to come together when we start, right? You're going to need to learn how to use the body that you have to your advantage, right? You're going to have to learn how to think. The process of thinking is beautiful. Like right now, I have nothing going on in my mind.
Well, I got a good
The-
question for you because,
yeah,
I watched a lot of your content and you talked about water and, our bodies are a great percentage of water. I mean, what do you mean when you say water can be alive or dead?
water is sentient. Um, wow, water is such a complex topic. I wrote an article some years ago. I took it down. I'm gonna repost it soon. Again on another site I'll find I can host it. Um, I call it the universal waters. And water is living. All the elements are living, first and foremost. They're alive. The wind is alive. That's why we can pull energy from all the elements, all of them. Water, earth, wind, fire, all of them can create energy. But nevertheless, water to me is one of the most special, right? Because the way it can be, um, the way we can see water in different places. Long story short, we can find water in different forms. That's what I'm trying to say. We can find water in different forms, right? And looking at water in all of its forms, you'll begin to see its sentient nature, right? Right now, I have a vortex, right, that recreates structured water because water must be moving. All water is moving at all times. Okay, except the water that we are getting in the house, except the waters that we are drinking. Okay, it stops moving. Okay, this is why I like copper. Copper vibrates things. Okay, keeps it moving. But even if you had nothing at all, you can still speak directly to the water, right? You're vibrating and you can share this vibration via your words. And the water that is indeed alive will respond and you can change its molecular structure. Okay. Um, Water is sentient. And the water I'm speaking on, the clear liquid that we call water, that's water at its base level. But I also understand other waters, like the thoughts. The thoughts are liquid or water. The inside of you, okay, is full of water, not the same as that H2O. Some even call it H3O, whatever you want to call it, right? Um, this is also a water. But as I mentioned, the thoughts are water, right? Um, every human is emitting a certain frequency, okay? Um, this frequency connects with something we may call, for the lack of better terms, a cloud, right? These is where the ideas of Wi-Fi even come from, right? This is where I speak on the ethos, right? Just imagine there's already within the space, the things that we can touch, there's already an energy field. This energy field is also liquid, right? This is why space looks like the deep of the sea, right? Because a lot of scientists already come to this conclusion, right? Um, so yes, like I said, seeing water in many different forms, you'll begin to see its sentient nature, right? Uh, Water has the power to create and destroy, right? This is also water is one of the main mechanisms of meditation for me. All of the elements, I use all the elements in meditation, but I teach moving of the waters, moving of the waters. Like when I spoke on time traveling, okay, mentally, when we go to the past, the water is going to become stale. That water already happened. Let's just refer to the thoughts as water now. That water already happened. And what happens to the water that sits inside of us once we travel? It is now going stale. So now we got a negative and a negative. Not going to get a positive, right? And even when we go to the future, hypothetical futures, that is, that water has not happened either, right? Has the same effect as the water that already happened, stale. And as we stay too far in it, that's why people who so dreamy losing the essence of life. Life begin to fall apart. Dreamy people, lives are falling apart. They aren't here. You got to be here in the present to be doing something with your life, right? Um, just giving more examples of how the water can destroy and create, because that stale water is still water, but it's unusable. We all know about stale water. So yes, water is sentient. It is living. You can speak directly to it. No matter if you're in a shower, no matter if you have a cup of it, no matter if you're speaking to the water directly in front of a person, or excuse me, directly inside of a person, okay? Or if you're speaking to the water inside yourself. I've learned to speak to the waters.
You know, for the listener out there that wants to do a little bit of a science experiment, I've done this before. If you have a glass and you have a pitcher under the water and you freeze the water on top of it, it forms the pitcher. It's actually pretty cool.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And then
Yeah, I've never heard that one. That's
no,
beautiful.
it's very fascinating how water is like that. And I don't know if it's part of the Trinity or whatever it's part of, but you know, there's so much to it. I mean, um, you know, if you really think about it, I mean, we have a soul, we have a body, and we have a spirit, you know? So it's
Yes.
kind of like the sun. The sun is what it is, but we get heat from the sun. Okay? So it's kind of like a fire. You know, fire is fire, but you know, it's hot. There's heat coming from it, and you know, it's fire itself.
It has multiple uses.
Mhm.
It has multiple uses.
Now,
Yep. Very good observation.
now can you dive a little bit, can you unpack this for me? Why is copper infused water beneficial to the body?
Wow. For one, copper is a mineral, and copper is also a metal that conducts electricity. That's one. We're electrical beings, and most often we are missing conductors. Okay. These conductors vibrate. Okay. They vibrate to the point they are sending energy to the left and to the right, creating a charge. These are our negatives and our positive, right? Um, so having copper infused water helps us to charge the water naturally, right? Um, copper infused water is something that's sold in other countries, but it's also something that was used in the medical field for a long time, right? If anyone want to do their own research on copper infused waters used in hospitals, um, people bathe in copper infused waters, right? If you were sick, you would only drink copper infused waters. The hospitals would only feed you copper infused waters, right? Because they understand how important copper is. If anybody don't know how important copper is, within every plug that you have, all of your plugs, there's copper, all of them. Okay, your XLR cables, your USBs, okay, your extension cords, okay, your appliance cords. Doesn't matter what you're plugging up. That is copper. That is going to move that electricity from one place to another. Okay. Your earphones, that's copper that travels through that. So we understand the copper is so necessary, right? That not only not only can we use it in all these different forms, but it's also something that exists within inside of us, right? Copper is also already inside of you, right? And usually when we're deficient of something, it's going to create some sort of ailment, right? And it would make most sense to some of us to just increase the thing we are deficient of, right? Um, most people are copper deficient,
Mm-hmm.
right? A lot of people are suffering from premature graying. Anyone that is suffering from premature gray hairs, anybody been graying before they're, I don't know, 38, you premature gray hairs. It's definitely because of copper deficiency. Okay. So your body will show you the things you're deficient at, right? Anybody balding, you're low in another mineral called iron. You're low in iron. Okay. I used to assist people in different who going through different things like such, right? Such as copper deficiency, such as iron deficiency that manifest in many different ways. I look for mental and emotional symptoms first that align with the physical symptoms. Okay. Um, yes, copper also help rid the bodies of parasites. We make you an, an unhospitable host to parasites. I'm gonna say it again. Copper helps to rid the body of parasites. We make you an unhospitable host to parasites. Okay. Parasites will much more rather live in a low frequency environment, not a high frequency environment. Something that is charged is a high frequency environment. Okay. So you begin charging yourself, you begin creating a different electrical environment within you because you're always going to be electrical. Okay. But sometimes those lights can be dim.
Mm-hmm.
Copper helps reignite that flame.
Yeah, I found a video of yours. That's how I originally found you about copper handles once upon a time on doors. History
Yes.
teaches us a lesson.
Yes. One of my favorite lessons to teach people. Yes, all the doorknobs, all the locks, all of them were always copper. And I'm sure if any of us go into our minds, right, in our adolescent days, because we haven't seen too many of them now. And if you have an old house, maybe you still have copper handles. But yes, your doors and your locks were always copper, right? Because it was wise for us to use that antiseptic properties of copper. Yes, it is cleaning you. I have copper on my hand. This hand is cleaner than any hand sanitizer I can put on me. Okay. Um, it was wise to clean hands on the way into the door and on the ways out of the door. Okay, so human beings can be safer. Yup, it's good you found that video.
Yeah, can you unpack that for the listeners? Why do you wear copper?
I wear copper for an abundance of different reasons, but my main three reasons is to keep my hands clean. Okay. I like to keep my hands clean. That's one. For two, I like to keep my body of a certain vibration, of a certain charge. Okay. Copper helps us when copper is tuned to the right frequency. Okay. It will help us to charge our imagination, charge our thoughts, charge our emotions, and create a force field around us. Okay. Um, Copper also helps to increase my antioxidants, my antibodies. Okay, copper keeps me healthy, boosts my immune system. Okay, um, it does all this by charging me. Okay, um, I started wearing copper on my hands when I had pain in my hands. Um, I had pain in my hands because I'm a man that always worked with his hands. I have calluses on my hands now, right? My hands told me to use my brain more than my body. My brain is stronger than my body. Nevertheless, uh, the pain have subsided. Okay. Within 3 months after wearing the copper, okay, the pain, the pain disappeared. Right. And whenever I start overworking my hands again, the pain begins to creep back up. Okay. And I begin to notice that I'm probably not wearing the cotton because I don't wear this all day, right? Nor do I wear it every day. Some weeks I don't need it. Some weeks, depending on the task and the endeavor that I'm doing, I could be making music, right? Um, I could be right just doing a bunch of different things. Even doing presentations all the time. I don't like to distract people with the copper, right? I don't want people to think that I have different antics, right? Or that I'm trying to oversell the copper. The copper already sells itself, right? So all the time I don't have it on me. But when I don't have it on me and I'm also overworking my body or overworking my hands, the pain begins to creep back. So the copper continuously shows me its ability to remove the pain and help me rebuild cartilage. Yes, it's strengthening my bones. Yes, copper itself strengthens bones. Yes. Um, and also I wear it on me because I also teach anything that goes on the skin goes in the skin.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that goes on the body goes in the body. So although it's on the outside of me, it is also going into the inside of me.
I love that. That is such a good point. And for
Mhm.
people out there that don't believe in some stuff like this, everything is energy. Everything around us, everything's made of atoms. Everything you look at around the room, the table, the chairs, everything's an atom. And you break it down to the smallest, it's in your brain. You know, it's those sparks that are going off when you use something new. It's like if you start brushing your teeth with your left hand, you're making new connections, and then your brain is an antenna, it's releasing it. I mean, humans are so powerful. We don't use it to the full potential we have.
Yep. But we learning. We learning. I believe with superheroes like myself and like yourself, Matthew, um, sharing to humans how to be human, right? And how to step into the world of the unknown. I I have full faith in the next 500 years of people. The next generation is going to be adventures. Yes.
You know, with so many people nowadays going towards cannabis, I know you talk about this on your channel. Why do you believe cannabis should be avoided for like mental and spiritual growth?
Wow. Um, well, smoking in general lowers your vibration. In general, smoking in general slows you down and lowers your vibration. That's one. Smoking cannabis, it's one of the worst things you can consume, especially when you have an unprepared mind or spirit, because a prepared mind or spirit wouldn't need cannabis. And to create those neural pathways that are teaching you that this is an exit or that this is a release. When you're on a spiritual journey, and you begin consuming cannabis, a spiritual journey means that I am also, look, a spiritual journey means that I am healing myself and learning myself. I am healing myself and learning myself. I am also relearning, unlearning, and learning how to learn. Relearning, unlearning, and learning how to learn. So if I'm doing all these things and consuming cannabis, I am also reteaching myself, okay, that the things that I've learned, okay, or the things that I've done is okay with this new creature I'm becoming. Um, if we're going to be unlearning, relearning, okay, and learning how to learn again, we must learn how to approach the body with new methods, how to approach the emotions with new methods of release, with new methods, okay, to satisfy ourselves. Okay, when a baby is crying, okay, nursing mothers, right? They're not going to always give the baby a pacifier or a bottle. Sometimes they'll allow them to cry so that baby can build emotional intelligence, so that baby can learn how to soothe itself. Cannabis prevents you from soothing yourself, something you already know how to do. Okay. Now, it's a large scientific community that are teaching you because of your endocannabinoid system, okay, that you have this relationship to cannabis and that you were supposed to consume cannabis. I know I was fed the same lies years ago when I once consumed cannabis. Okay. But it's only in sobriety when you begin to realize, okay, that you've lost a lot of time with yourself, time to learn yourself. Okay. And if you're on a spiritual journey, time with yourself matters. You don't have time, okay, to be going through these time lapses. Cannabis force you to go through many time lapses. A lot of people can recall the fact that the days that they smoked, the days that they were intoxicated are shorter. Some people say they smoked in the 80s and the 80s went like that. They smoked in the 90s and the 90s went like that. If you smoked during high school, you may not remember all of high school. You may not even be honest with these memory lapses, but you are going through memory lapses. Your memory isn't keen. You don't have the best memory if you consume cannabis, right? You don't you and if you don't have the best memory, how can you remember, okay, how to satiate your emotions? How can you remember how to calm yourself down? How can you remember all these different mindfulness activities, exercises, and practices that's going to be needed, okay, for you to become the person that you need to become? How are you going to remember, okay, to fortify yourselves? How are you going to remember? Your memory isn't just based on intellectual intelligence. Your memory is also based on emotional intelligence, okay? Physical intelligence. That's why when you walk certain places, you can immediately feel a certain thing. Like when you walk towards your house door, sometimes you may have to go to the bathroom. When you go over certain people's houses, sometimes you may get hungry. If this is your grandmother's house, if this is your wife or your ex-wife house, or your father that always cooks, sometimes you may notice that you may get hungry. Okay? That's physical memory. Then there's emotional memory. Then we have intellectual. So you have to understand, you're preventing yourself from remembering in a multiplicity of different ways, if not every way. Okay? You are going through lapses, and you need to remember the journey of spirituality, of learning yourself and healing yourself, is directly linked to remembering. Remembering. You have fallen apart. We have to re-put you together. You have to remember the body of who you are, okay, who you've always been. Not this person you have became, not this person you have became trying to adjust to life as an adult. Okay. So if you're on a spiritual journey, I don't recommend cannabis. Cannabis is one of the worst things you can be doing if it's time to remember. If you need to calm yourself down, if you need some mental clarity, if you need to focus, that's not cannabis' job. That's your job. And you are shifting the responsibility on this other energy, on this plant. And the plant isn't there to do that. What most of us are feeling from the cannabis is a poison. I'm going to say it again. The high that we are feeling from cannabis is a poison. This wasn't what the cannabis plant was made to do. Okay? It has other mechanisms. It has other benefits. Okay? It has other properties that can be extracted from the plant. Okay, that won't intoxicate you. And no, I don't just mean CBD and CBN. Okay? There are 102 different cannabinoids, plus or minus, right? And all of them have different benefits to the body. Just consuming THC and CBD, okay, as an escape route because you can't calm your own self down because you didn't learn how to focus yourself is the worst thing you can be doing to your body. The worst thing you can be teaching your body and your cells. Your cells. Okay? What about when you mate and have offspring? This is already implanted within your cells. Emotional adolescence. Right? This is already implanted within you. The fact that you can't do for your own self. Okay? You're doing yourself an injustice, a disservice. Okay? And then not only that, what else are you doing to the things around you? Consuming cannabis. Consuming cannabis, what else are you doing to the things around you? Are you consuming this and smoking this within your house, within your car? You know, police are sniffing for these things, no matter what state you in. Okay, you're not in your right mind. You ever walk up on somebody who've already consumed cannabis and maybe consuming cannabis? I'm gonna say it again. You ever walk up on somebody who is consuming cannabis or just consuming cannabis? Their eyes are red. Okay, they're slow to speak, slow to think. Is that the person you want working next to you? If you had a Fortune 500 company and you're paying your employees six-figure and above, are you hiring the person who uses and or abuses cannabis? I'm sure you wouldn't. I'm sure you will want a fresh mind. Okay? Better yet, have you found any successful inventor, anybody walking in a purpose, and any successful individual that isn't directly tied to the cannabis sales industry that uses cannabis? You won't even find too many of them that drink. Okay? So no, I can go on for days about why we shouldn't use cannabis. Okay? The fact that we are polluting the air and our airways. What about your lungs? I know your mind is going through something and you're trying to love your mind. You're trying to hug your mind with razor sharp arms. You're trying to love your mind with needles on your chest. But what about your lungs? What about your lips? You know how many people lips are discolored? What about your hydration system? You know, you have different parts of your body that need you, right? So I believe consuming cannabis on a spiritual journey is the last thing we need to be doing, especially if we're serious about this journey. Okay? Especially if we're serious about learning ourselves. To learn yourself, you're going to have to be sober. You're going to have to really learn yourself. Feel yourself when you're upset. You'll learn yourself.
No, that's such a good point. I mean, your body is a temple, mind, body, and spirit. Yeah, why does copper turn green?
So, for one, it's oxidating as the result of air, exposing it to air, and also moisture, right? But it doesn't mean that it's unusable. Just because we may not want to see our copper look like this, it doesn't mean it's unusable, right? Doesn't mean that the copper is bad or now it doesn't work. The copper does work. It actually means that that's pure copper. Pure copper is going to change colors. I'm going to say it again. pure copper is going to change colors. We have to accept that copper is alive. It is changing. It is one of several different colors at all times. Okay. So you may notice if you have copper jewelry, it may be turning different colors, maybe greenish, okay, maybe orangish, maybe reddish, maybe brown. It's okay. If you're patient enough, you'll see that this color, as it learns your body and build this symbiotic relationship with your body, is going to change again. Okay. And that green, that tarnished looking color is going to fade away. Right. Although there are things that you can do to change the color, I just want us to know that it's not spoiled, it's not bad copper, it's not unusable copper. In fact, that means that it's real copper. Okay. Now, as it pertains to things you're drinking out of, like the vessels I sell, the cups that I sell, you're drinking out of this. You may not want to drink out of tarnished copper or green copper. Okay. That is most likely the result of you leaving water in it. Okay. I have instructions that come with my vessel to clean the copper, dry it. Okay. Everything that you put in the copper is going to have a bunch of things in it that can harm the copper. This can actually show what it's also doing to you and the inside of you.
And the copper
Okay.
is vibrating, and I love that because most people don't understand what's happening, the science that is involved. If you want to step in on this one.
Yeah. Um, well, when you said it, it's vibrating. The copper is alive. It's vibrating. And as it's vibrating, it's changing the structure of whatever you put inside the copper. Okay. It is merging. Okay. Sometimes we may use the word infusing. Like if it's water inside the cup, the copper is infusing. It is leaching off into the water. Okay. Sharing itself with the water. Okay. Even if it wasn't water, if it's wine, you drinking out of a copper cup, drinking your wine, it is also fusing. But also, there are things inside, different chemicals inside whatever you may be drinking. Okay. Like sugar. Sugar is rather harsh on copper. It's harsh in general on you. And remember, you have copper inside you. Okay. And nevertheless, it will tarnish the copper faster. It will change the color of the copper faster. Okay. So whenever we notice this change of color, remember this is all a chemical reaction. Okay. There are a lot of things that's happening under the naked eye. Okay. Um, yeah. So there's
Especially with the
nothing wrong with the copper.
vibrations alone. Especially with the
Yup.
vibrations alone, is how you speak to it. You can tell this type of stuff when someone comes into the room that you just don't have a good feeling about.
Yup.
Everything's
Yup.
vibrating.
Everything's vibrating. And especially when if somebody walk into the room and you don't have a good feeling about them, um, it says a lot about you too. It says a lot about your frequency. You're vibrating at a frequency that's high enough to feel the unseen. And that's a good thing. And they say birds of a feather fly together. If you are low enough, then those thoughts, that energy wouldn't bother you, but you're not low enough. So it does bother you, right? I got to say, light can't be in the presence of darkness. Can't be light and dark in the same room. Somebody walk into the room with some dark thoughts. The light in you has to do something. And when I walk into rooms where there are dark thoughts, because I walk into these rooms, right? I may be dealing with somebody who's going through some dark times. I have to be the light that challenges the darkness. Yep. That challenges the darkness, that forces it to scurry, to do something with itself, right? To consume its own self. Darkness can consume its own self. As lightness spread, darkness consume its own self. Yeah.
It's so interesting because it's almost like life has a balance. The yin and the yang, the good and the bad.
Yes. Yes. Life does have a balance. I don't really like the term I don't really use, I ain't gonna say I don't like. I don't really use the term bad because as I've learned through enlightenment, there isn't anything pretty much bad. They're just two different sides of the energy spectrum. You coming from a
Yes.
-3, I'm coming from a +3. Doesn't mean, you know, you're worth any more or less than I am, and I not of you. So it just, it just I like to use the terms uncertain energies.
I've heard the
Yep.
term of opposites attract too.
That's right. Um, Opposites do attract. And but I like for people to know about opposites attracting. Just because they attract don't mean that they'll stay together. It takes something else for them to stay together. Yep, it's like when man meets woman, they come together, but doesn't mean they'll stay together. It takes something else. It takes other mechanisms. Right? Even in that reference, when two people meet, this is why the first kiss is so important. When we kiss, our bacteria decide if we belong together. See, I have to have something within my bacteria, right, that your bacteria needs, and vice versa. We have to need each other, right? Um, that happens on a molecular level, right? But it also goes to a mental level and a physical level. We have to have things that we need each other. When two people don't need each other, they won't be together. So yeah, opposites attract because they need each other. But when they come together, okay, if those needs aren't sought after, if those needs aren't satiated, then they'll part. People should know that, because some people be thinking just because they may feel like they're a light being, they may feel like they're high vibration and that they're attracting darkness. That's not the only reason you're attracted to darkness. Birds of a feather fly together. It'd be best for you to admit that you are also the darkness. You're also the darkness. It's not that you're just attracting the darkness. You're also the darkness, right? And sometimes we are just attracting our reflection, right? Yeah. See, we have a stronger magnetic pull to the things that align with us than we do to the things that don't. A stronger pull to the things that don't. I was speaking to someone earlier, teaching someone about luck. And I said, luck and superstition is not something that I entertain, because he asked me, was a successful person lucky? I said, no, a successful person expected everything that happened to them. So did the unlucky. So luck is something that's warranted or not warranted. It's the result of hard work, mental work, emotional work, and physical work, discipline, repetition. It's not, it's not random, or randomness is like I like to call it. Right? Sometimes we get caught up in the superstitions of life and make things more spiritual than they are, per se.
I love that. My definition for luck is being prepared for the opportunity, and the opportunity is there all the time. That's what luck is.
That's beautiful. That's exactly what it is. Preparation and met opportunity. Hmm.
I want you to I want to know you a little bit more here. This is the Friday mindset part of the show. I want to dig into your journey, the moments that have shaped you and your mindset. How has your faith shaped you on your journey?
Wow, my faith. um, well, for me, faith relates to how I view myself, um, the relationship I have with myself, and how much do I trust myself. Faith directly correlates to trust with me, right? And the faith within myself has grown, and it grows every day. It's like it's like a flower that is growing to never-ending heights, right? The moment I think it's reached a certain peak, it then continues to grow. Another stem, another leaf, right? Another branch. Um, yes, the faith in myself determines everything, right? As I'm sure it does for other people. But faith within myself gives me the courage to be myself, right? Faith in myself gives me the courage to trust myself because I know myself. Faith in myself gives me the courage to question everything, right? Question everything, regardless if it aligns with me or not. It is the faith in myself, the fact that I'm already founded in who I am, and nothing gonna change who I am or the way I feel about myself, right? Faith is something I work on every day. It's something that mindfulness helps, right? One of those mindfulness activities and exercises that help um concrete faith in self. Knowing my purpose helps. Having faith in that, right? Having faith in myself allowed me to realize, wow, I'm the first man in a few hundred years. I'm also the firstborn. I'm also which will make me a born leader. Being a leader makes me a teacher, right? Having faith in that. Having faith in, they say everything happens for a reason, but I had enough faith to understand that I'm going to be the reason that a thing happens. And I'm going to do my best with what already happened, right? Like the fact that I was born, like the fact that I'm a leader, like the fact that I'm going to experience things first. But I'm experiencing them things first. Okay, no matter how brutal on my spirit or my mind or my body they may be, I had to have faith in myself, okay, to be able to see the end of the end outcome. The fact that I'm going to make it, the fact that I'm going to be more than okay, the fact that I'm going to prevail, the fact that I'm going to become the man that I'm becoming. Okay. Faith helps me see. Faith grants clarity and clairvoyance. Okay. Um, but again, it begins at trust. Yeah, trusting yourself. Trusting yourself is the easiest way to have faith in yourself. So as you build faith, you're going to also build trust. And as you build trust, you're going to also build faith. And as you build trust and faith, these are going to align with your purpose. Purpose is going to reveal itself to you. A lot of times we may have a blurred lens towards our purpose because I'll never entertain that we don't know it. I'll never entertain that. Okay. You will always know something that is in you. This is faith you're seeing. Okay. You'll always know something that is in you. It is up to you to acknowledge it, right? Embrace it or accept it, right? Faith is going to help you do that. Faith is going to help you walk in that purpose. Having faith in that. Like imagine a day that you said, "This is who I am. This is what I'm supposed to do." I need to have faith in that. I don't need to believe that. Right? I teach us the difference between belief and faith. The root word of belief.
Hello, everybody. That's a wrap for this episode. We keep on losing connection through the podcast, so we're going to call it a wraps here with me, myself, and I. Thank you for being here and listening and enjoying the show. To everyone out there, stay tuned for more amazing stories on Every Day is Friday 365. If you enjoyed this, make sure to follow, share, and keep that Every Day is Friday mindset going. Stay inspired and make every day feel like Friday. Until next time, everybody.